Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Thank you friends for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story. Client wanted food without salt, so I bring her bacon wrapped in a salad. The second story. Woman called me. After I blocked her number, I refused to rent her apartment. The third story. My family refused to pick up my package, so I stopped helping them in picking up their packages. On to the first story. When I say no salt, I mean it. So this was well before COVID, so I might be fuzzy on the details, as this was back when I worked at a burger joint in the middle of a small city. A small one, but it gave me a chuckle, and I was reminded of it after reading an earlier post about someone falsely claiming a salt-free diet for a party. Some dude walks in with the most condescending look on his face as he looks around our establishment. We advertised as a place which catered to dietary needs, including vegetarian, vegan, organic, and religious diets, and this dude at least doesn't look like the type such a place caters to. I don't get paid to judge. He orders a typical burger, the joint's default, but with no salt on the patties. Not a problem. People have done this before. We easily prepare an unsalted double patty burger. This time, however, when he bites it, his face is a look of disgust. Me, is something wrong, sir? Customer, there's way too much salt on this burger. Me, that's strange. We didn't put any salt on your burger as you asked. Customer, as if. When I say no, I mean it. I'm on a no-salt diet as per my doctor's orders. Me, oh really? Well, why didn't you say that to begin with? Let me just make a new burger for you. QMC, our place had special policies the moment a medical history or specific diet was mentioned. 4 minutes later, handing him a lettuce wrap double patty with no pickles or bacon. Customer, the F is this SH? This isn't a burger. Me, actually, sir, it is a properly salt-free burger as you requested. Customer, but there's not even a bun. Me, our burger buns are made with salt. Customer now studying the burger closely. Where are the toppings I asked for? Me, our bacon and pickles are both heavily salted. Since your salt-free request is a result of a dietary restriction, not just a request, we are obligated to remove any instances of the ingredient in question. Don't worry, we didn't charge you for the bacon. The customer then bit into the burger, stating that it was terrible. Not just that the lettuce wrap was far inferior, but that the meat was tasteless. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but not only did you ask for no salt, hence the tastelessness, you triggered our establishment's dietary policy by making your request based on a medical need. My manager had to explain to him that if he wanted a new burger, he would have to pay for it. Edit. To clarify, yes, we took dietary restrictions seriously. It wasn't just some BS for marketing. That's why we had to change the orders so drastically. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered. Yes, we were aware that salt dietary restrictions are very serious for some people. That's why, as I stated in a comment, when someone did mention it as being a dietary restriction, we typically asked for more details, like if bread was still okay. Some people even switched to vegetarian or vegan burgers. I usually tried to warn them when that happened, because our veggie burgers weren't Impossible Burgers or anything. They were literal vegetable patties and they weren't that good IMO. However, we dealt with enough malingerers, people making up diagnoses for attention, that we were pretty sure about this guy. No, we did not normally treat customers like this. People were generally much nicer than this, and those that weren't were usually easily spotted and caught malingerers. We'd comped or remade meals for people plenty of times, because we screwed up the dietary needs on their order. No, I do not think this particular customer really had the restriction, because 1, he was surprised to hear that bacon and pickles were super salty, and 2, he got angry with us for trying to adhere to his restriction. If you really did, I wish him the best in that endeavor, and I hope we didn't turn him away from adhering to the restriction. But don't be a D to the people trying to help you. This wasn't a malicious confrontation until he started getting angry, because of the taste of the first burger. No, you cannot visit or boycott the place now, because both locations in my state already went bankrupt months before the pandemic in the US. Turns out the places had never made a cent in profit in the 6 years they were open, because advertising a $7 burger primarily to people who don't want to eat at other burger places is a terrible business model. There's other locations open, but only a couple in California and like a dozen in the Middle East. I can't speak for them. I agree with the OP, because if he couldn't eat salt, he wouldn't complain about having that burger made. Your restaurant is wonderful. I've been in restaurants where they refuse to make me a dish without one ingredient because they cook it like it says on the menu. I have an Allegria for citrus, and when I asked them to bring me a dish without lemon, they ignored me. I refused to pay. This guy was definitely trying to scam you. I love it when people make up a disease to get a special meal, and it bites them in the A. This guy doesn't know about this diet, which he supposedly had, or is incredibly new to it. If your doctor asked you to watch your salt intake, you know for a fact that bread and bacon contains salt, and you wouldn't be surprised by a bacon-free burger wrapped in lettuce if you asked for no added salt. I love when it bites, so the faker's in the A. But when they pull this SH, it makes things harder for those of us with actual allergies. The second story is, kick out the tenant, then ask him to showcase the place. Mid-2010s, I was on a hunt for a place while crashing on a friend's couch. I was checking out a place for 40% of monthly minimum wage, and having arrived at the agreed-upon time, found an obese middle-aged lady telling an agitated nephew that he can't freeload in his room anymore. So I talked to her, and always the marketer, offered to do some free digital marketing tips. Basic stuff that people just ignore before checking out the rooms. It never hurts to offer something valuable and low cost for free before negotiations. I found an amazing room that made me feel like a vampire count with thick ornate columns, high ceilings, velvet drapes, with the only light coming from the glass wall on one side that casted my silhouette towards the entrance and kept my face obscure sitting behind the desk. But I should scope out the place, right? So the landlord tells me she has bad knees and asks the nephews he just kicked out to show me around and upstairs, specifically to the room that just freed up, his. What? That's not wise. Not surprisingly, he showed me the place flippantly, occasionally bad-mouthing it and letting me know that there's rats. Okay, nope. I said my thanks, left the lying landlord. That should have been the end of it. 2 days later, the landlord calls me in the middle of work and asks me if I made a decision on the room and if I could show her the digital marketing tricks, to which I gave her the benefit of the doubt and refused sternly. That should have been the end of it. Yet she kept on calling. Even when I blocked her, she found other numbers to call from over the next 2 weeks. One day I was in a foul mood, so I finally agreed, if only to get her out of my life. Except she then directs me to the nephews she's kicking out, as soon as this room is rented, because she's not good with tech. What? That's not wise, but meh, it is what she wanted. It turns out the freeloading nephew was a natural, and he managed to rank landlords' apartments on the top 10 search results completed with dead rats, dangerous fire escapes, fire hazards and all. The landlord was found in violation of numerous codes, and I now had a capable and admirable digital marketer who eventually helped me get employed after COVID layoffs. I can't understand why she told her nephew to show you the apartment, because she kicked him out of the apartment before that. It's not surprising that the nephew told about all the secrets of this apartment. I also can't understand why she called after you blocked her. I think it's clear to anyone it means they don't want to communicate with you. I would have filed for harassment. This happened to my cousins a few years ago. They complained to their landlord about a number of legitimate things, and instead of correcting them, the landlord ignored them. They moved out of that apartment and later posted comments pointing out things like broken screens, faulty wiring, etc. My friends really enjoyed being able to share their truth. They're both in a much better position now and are thriving, so losing their rent was a good thing for them in the end. The last story is personal responsibility? Okay. I've been doing all my shopping online, from groceries to clothes, everything, which means I usually get a lot of deliveries. I also buy a lot of stuff for my family to use, especially when groceries and basic necessities. I started buying from more small local businesses, it being the pandemic and me wanting to help them more instead of big businesses like Amazon. This has meant having to deal with incredibly vague, or straight up wrong delivery information. I've worked at a small business before, so I expected these problems and don't mind it. Cue a few weeks ago. Mom doesn't work anymore. Sis is on term break, and I'm working from home having a meeting. A delivery comes and no one answers the door. I have my headphones on so I can't hear the bell. The delivery man calls me and tells me he's been ringing the door, and no one is answering, even though he can hear the TV. I apologize and run out to collect the parcel. See my mom's in front of the telly with so much indifference. This makes me mildly annoyed, and I ask her nicely to help open the door next time. Immediately she screams at me for assuming she has nothing to do, which sets off this shouting match between her and I. My sister comes out of her room, takes my mother's side and shouts at me for being rude, just for expecting my mother to answer the door. At this point I'm livid, and I ask if it's too much to expect my own family to help with these things, especially when I'm working. They both go on about how it's my personal responsibility to collect my own deliveries, and that I should not take for granted that they'll help just because they're at home, and that I should tell them when I have deliveries coming, to which I try to explain about the often vague delivery estimates I get. This one in particular was supposed to come 2 days later. I point out to them that most of the deliveries that come for me end up being shared by the family, i.e. the groceries, coffee, necessities, etc. That at the start of the year before my mom quit her job, I was working from home alone, collecting everyone's deliveries, even when no one tells me about any incoming ones. I singled out one day my sister had 4 deliveries, and I collected them all with no complaints. But obviously none of it gets through to them, and I give up the argument since I was outnumbered. Bring on the MC. I stopped ordering groceries for the whole family and food runs out. Both mom and sis just assume that I would order more, and when I don't, they question me about it, and I tell them that it's their own personal responsibility to get their own groceries. A couple of deliveries came for my sister when she wasn't home, and I didn't bother receiving it because the personal responsibility was hers to collect. Plus, she didn't tell anyone about them. Turns out one of those deliveries was a laptop, and because no one answered the door, it was left outside and got stolen. My sister got rightfully angry at me, and my mother, but I used their BS personal responsibility excuse back on her. Now, no one is talking to each other, but I don't care. I feel like I've willingly and readily helped them, but when I ask for help in return, it's way too much for them to do so. This might be petty AF, but F it. It's the card they chose to play. Edit. Thank you all for the words of support. I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. Wow. And thank you for the awards too. I'll answer some common questions with this edit. Over here, couriers give you the option to allow them to leave the package at your door. It's an explicit opt-in you must do, and I guess my sister chose that for her laptop. Joke's on her for choosing that for such an expensive item. She made a police report about it, but the courier won't do anything because she gave them explicit permission to leave it at the door. They have photo and video proof of delivery that they even provided it. My mom isn't old or have hearing loss. If she was, I wouldn't expect her to be receiving deliveries. We don't live in a dangerous area. Not opening doors is actually uncommon here. My mom, however, expects everyone else to do it for some reason. RE moving out and being in a toxic environment, I used to think a lot of this was in my head, and I was just letting it all get to me. It took a lot for me to draw that line, but I guess something snapped in me and gave me the courage. I'm actively looking for a place and my best friend deals with property. She helps me keep an eye out for good places to move to. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the rental market has become an SH show, with landlords taking advantage of foreigners stuck here to charge ungodly rent. Fingers crossed, though, that I find something. Edit 2. Also, yes, gotta agree with one Redditor that we all ended up as losers in this, but I'm loving the peace I've gotten from being left alone too. Your family might have been kinder to you because you also ordered food for them, but we don't choose family. I advise you to move to another apartment and order packages only for yourself. Perhaps this will show your family that they should appreciate and be grateful for what you did for them. I think this kind of thing would sound okay if you were living with roommates. But this is your own family. I don't know what disagreements you've had in the past, but I would very seriously consider moving out. Not for you, but for future relationships with your mother and sister. I have a similar toxic sister. She thought everything I did for her was supposed to be my responsibility, and she did nothing for me. When I told her that I expected her to reciprocate and help me, she said it was none of her business. We didn't communicate for a long time after that, and it did me good. After a month of silence, she apologized to me and told me that she understood everything. We've been on good terms ever since. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a nice day.